Performance USA, the greatest entertainers in America, as requested by you, the fighting men of the United States Armed Forces throughout the world. Command Performance, presented this week and every week till it's over there. Okay there, gang, let's crash the gate for another worldwide GI premiere of Command Performance. The stars tonight are big and bright for you guys, getting deep in the heart of the Axis, and they're flashing their answers to the letters you send to Command Performance, care of Los Angeles, USA. Each week, those letters seem to produce a little bit of anything you want. But tonight, they've produced a whole lot of everything. Yes, sir, the joint's really loaded, and I'm not talking about leopard sweat either. I'm talking about the music and laughter of the American show business. But let's call in the charming girl who's heading up the talk department and begin unloading the stuff. Fellas, get a load of your mistress of ceremonies, lovely Rosalind Russell.
Thank you, and hello, fellas. First order of business is handing out a Command Performance Oscar. You see, Brother Carpenter has got you your big clam bake on and off the air for a full year now, and we think it's worth at least a burst of spontaneous applause. So let's get spontaneous. Now, come on, give him a hand there, boys. Well, men, that takes care of Ken Carpenter. Now let's take care of you. The famous orchestra of Xavier Cugat is here tonight. Cugat himself, the Cugat Choir, and a whole mess of instruments all the way from the trombone to the clavis. And a thing called the banga. That's the conga banga. Gentlemen of the AEF, a Command Performance for Xavier Cugat.
Thank you, Rosalind Russell. Command Performance. It is amazing, this program. It reaches out to England, China, and Australia. It reaches out to Alaska and India. Why, this program must even reach out to the city limits of Los Angeles. But we are greatly honored to obey your commands. And before we play your favorite request number of our orchestra, we say hello to Al, J. Hank, and the PX staff at 972, Sergeant Bowling at the men of APO 929, to the gang with the 3rd Marines, to the 5 Jive Crazy Messengers at Fran's Grades in Doncaster. Greetings to Teddy Medina at Schofield's Barracks, and to Teddy's best friend in the Solomons, and to Bud Sylvester and the engineers in Panama. For all of you in the United Nations, and especially in honor of our great neighbors to the south, it's the rhythm of Latin America and the hit song, Brazil.
Mi Brasil brasileira, mia mulata insonera, fu cantarte los mios pies.
Cugat and Company. Fellows, Cugat will spring a special musical surprise on you in a jiffy. The other day we got a letter from the 78th Engineers, sending a 48-gun salute to command performance. Albin Sokolnicki must have taken a one-man census because 48 men signed that letter, and every man hailed from a different state in the USA, all the way from Irondale, Alabama to Casper, Wyoming, to little towns like Paris, Arkansas, Coleman, Wisconsin, Ansonia, Connecticut, Trout Creek, Montana, Zephyrhills, Florida, and Stallicum, Washington. Men who lived 3,000 miles apart during peacetime, but who today are manning the same gun side by side, thousands of miles from those little hometowns. Yes, sir, we may have 48 states here, but there is just one USA. But then, too, according to an English flyer, Hugh O'Brien, and a few thousand Marines and sailors, and plenty of Army and Navy women, there is just one Judy Canova. Okay, Judy, you're on.
Hiya, fellas. I'm sure glad to be on your command performance tonight. I just love entertaining you fellas, I really do. You know, last night a bunch of us Hollywood gals throwed a big dance for some fellas home on furlough, and everything was free. MP caught one soldier 3 blocks from the place with a carton of cigarettes under one arm and Annie Sheridan on the other. Yes, them boys were sure glad to see me. The minute I stepped in there, a sailor grabbed me and hugged me so tight that when we unclinched, I was wearing one of his tattoos. All the glamour girls was there, including me. They saw Dorothy Lamour and Marlene Dietrich and Hetty Lamar. And I must say right here now that them soldiers and sailors was perfect gentlemen. Yes, sir. Hetty Lamar passed a big Marine, and he didn't even whistle at her. He just stood there and chewed on the MP's handcuffs. When we wasn't dancing, we was supposed to go in the kitchen and wash dishes, you know. Well, sir, as soon as I stepped in the kitchen, I asked for a piece of turkey, and a soldier KP says, neck. I said, nope, I'm no good at it on an empty stomach. Then I went over to the icebox to get a glass of milk, and when I opened the door, lo and behold, there's a sailor sitting in there. Yes, sir, Ann Sheridan says to him, says, don't mind him. When he cools down a little more, I'm going to dance with him again. Then I walked over and I opened the oven door and there's a corporal in there. I says, Corporal, when you get a little hotter, you and me's going to dance. Well, sir, I invited 4 of them fellers out to Rancho Canova for dinner and a party, and one soldier says, is it going to be a typical Hollywood party? I says, nope, it's just going to be a little informal, intimate tea-to-tea. He said, swell, that's what I like, a good old-fashioned crap game. Then a party of us went down to the beach from there, and all them gals was wearing them new strapless bathing suits. I swear, I was scared every time they dived in the water. The suit had to come in on a wing and a prayer. Well, sir, I got to get back to Rancho Canova and try on one of them newest bathing suits. It's very tight-fitting and very revealing. It's called the General Eisenhower bathing suit. It's guaranteed to land a man on any beach. And now, fellas, here's a touch of one of them songs you asked me for. Nearly broken-hearted since the day that I once started from my Wabash home. Now Indiana's sweet and it's the place that's hard to beat, but then I long to roam. My old homestead I now can see. I had a boy was as sweet as could be. Now every day I'm so lonesome it's plumb misery. Oh, those Wabash blues. Oh, I know I got my dues. A lonesome gal am I Oh, the candlelight is gleaming so bright tonight, my darling. Oh, walk me in my dreams. I'll pack my walking shoes. Those Wabash blues.
Canova. You know, fellas, we don't use the long-distance phone so much anymore. So imagine what a thrill it is calling anywhere on Earth and it doesn't cost me a nickel. So I'll ring Moncton, New Brunswick, and love to Tommy Dent in that Marine sick bay. Then I'll really splurge and put in another call way across the world to India. Hello there, Sergeants Tom Wilson, Earl Cleveland, and Harold Kelsey. I'm buzzing 4 Hershey'ites, known also as the Glee Cub of 846. And another transoceanic call to Sergeant Murray Schaffnus, who keeps him flying for that fighting 58th Squadron. And more long-distance love from home to 6 Army nurses in that 16th Field Hospital at 616. Yes, Lieutenant Summons, that means you. Our best to the original Arkansas Travelers and George Maddy at 939, to Sam Stanley and the Watchdogs of the Bering Sea. And speaking of long-distance calls, we get plenty of calls for the voice of Carlos Ramirez. And since he's right here, let's put him on. Carlos Ramirez, singing Amor, Amor.
Amor, amor, nació de ti, nació de mí, de la esperanza. Amor, 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 nació de Dios para los dos, nació del alma. Sentir que tus besos se quedaron en ti, igual que palomas mensajeras de luz. Saber que tus besos se quedaron en ti, haciendo en tus labios la señal de la Amor, amor, nació de ti, nació de mí, de la esperanza. Amor, 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 nació de Dios para los dos, nació del alma. Nació de ti, nació de mí, de la esperanza. Nació de Dios para los dos, nació del alma. Sentir que tus besos se quedaron en ti, igual que palomas mensajeras de luz. Saber que tus besos se quedaron en ti, haciendo en tus labios la señal de la cruz. Amor, amor, nació de ti, nació de mí, de la esperanza. Amor, 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 nació de Dios para los dos, nació del alma.
Senor Carlos Ramirez. Well, men, you've heard often about Jimmy Wakely and his Rough Riders on Command Performance. Jimmy's doing time over at Columbia, knocking out those equestrian operas, those Seabiscuit cinemas. He's the handsome leading man who rides hell-bent down the canyon, singing the latest thing off the hit parade, while millions of moppets at local bijou theaters make believe that they're a combination of Gene Autry and Red Ryder. Wields a great influence, this Wakely. Right now at Columbia, they're whipping up a dilly called Cowboy in the Clouds, in which Jimmy does everything but curry the horses. Featured song of this picture bears the same title, Cowboy in the Clouds, and it's a great song that pays tribute to all the men of the West who are helping Uncle Sam fight his way east to Tokyo. The Rough Riders and Jimmy Wakely.
Have you heard about our pal since he left the old corral? He's a cowboy in the clouds. No more boots are jingling, now he's wearing silver wings. He's a cowboy in the clouds. Get long, get long, get long, you old propeller, to that prairie way up high. Get long, get long, get long, and help a feller get those rustlers in the sky. All the gang at old Bar X want to shake the hand of Tex, and the old hometown is proud. At the president's request, there's a medal on the chest of the cowboy in the clouds. Have you heard about our pal since he left the old corral? He's a cowboy in the clouds. No more boots are jingling, now he's wearing silver wings. He's a cowboy in the clouds. Get long, get long, get long, you old propeller, to that prairie way up high. Get long, get long, get long, and help a feller get those rustlers in the sky. All the gang at old Bar X want to shake the hand of Tex, and the old hometown is proud. At the president's request, there's a medal on the chest of the cowboy in the clouds.
Thank you, Jimmy Wakely and the Rough Riders. As you fellows know, you put the lug on Command Performance for a lot of screwy things. And a good share of the time, we deliver the goods. But sometimes you just manage to cross us up. For example, we still haven't figured out a way of short-waving Gypsy Rose Lee at the end of her act. And how can we broadcast a case of Mountain Dew 100 proof? By the way, have you tried buying any lately? But those are minority requests. Over on the majority side, the letters asking for Virginia O'Brien are piled up higher than Mount Rainier. We let those requests pile up just so high, and then what happens? Well, now, what do you think? Fellas, here is Virginia O'Brien.
Thanks, Rosalind. Hi, fellas. How's Thomason and Boley and the Rockabye Baby Gang at APO 827? And hey, Ed Gwynn at 845. Thanks for the poem. I'll send another picture. And greetings to Egghead Jones and the Aleutians. And hey, who's this private snafu we hear so much about? Snafu, that's an odd name. But here's a song that'll please at least one guy, Private Harold Schatz in the Hawaiian Islands. I'm kicking it around in our new picture, Meet the People. Say we'll be sweethearts again. Life used to be a gay thing, a filled with happiness night and day thing. It was something to have and to hold. seems that your love grew cold. I never knew that our romance had ended until you poisoned my food. And I thought it was a lark when you kicked me in the park. But now I think it was rude. I never knew that you and I were finished until that bottle hit my head. Though I tried to be aloof when you pushed me off the roof, I feel our romance is dead. It wouldn't have been so bad if you told me that someone had suddenly taken my place. Huh. But no, you didn't even scold me. You just tried to disfigure my face. You'll never know how this heart of mine is breaking. It looks so hopeless, but then our love is great. No love can match it. Darling, please put down that hatchet and say we're sweethearts again.
Command performance says thanks to its deadpan diva, Virginia O'Brien. And now it's Cugat time. Xavier Cugat, the man in the band who's cornered the rumba market in the whole USA. Here's the story. The flicker business recently turned out a thing called Stage Door Canteen, with enough stars to lift any mortgage and give little Nell lifetime security. Enough bands to man a victory parade down Broadway, and enough glamour to pin up on every wall in the South Pacific. One of the brightest interludes of Stage Door Canteen was Xavier Cugat and the orchestra backing up a gorgeous, curvaceous bit of femininity known as Lena Romai. Here again we apologize for radio. Brother, it just ain't visual. But take my word for it, Lena Romai is your type of gal. It's Xavier Cugat with Lena Romai doing the Bombshell from Brooklyn.
Bombshell from the Pampas. She's a lady who has been through the mill. Just a bombshell from Brooklyn and not from Brazil. And her accent is atrocious. She's a senorita with beans to spill. A bombshell from Brooklyn and not from Brazil. The only thing Brazilian about her is her bump. Makes your heart begin to jump. And though she talks about tiendas to a chump, she made her debut in a Coney Island dump. She's known as Belladonna, but her birth certificate says McGill. She's a bombshell from Brooklyn and not from Brazil.
Unless we dash over to the Brown Derby and carry off a few more stars, that Cugat number was our swan song for the evening, leaving us face to face with that unwelcome moment when we say goodnight to Greenland. So long to Sicily, aloha to the South Pacific, and hasta la vista till we meet again to the whole AEF. This parting moment could be an ideal spot for a few half-dollar words, but our feeling for you men can't be put into fancy language. All we say is this. Each week when we watch the command performance curtain come down and separate you from us, we know we're 1 week closer to that day when the curtain comes down on the Axis. 1 week closer to that day when we'll be lining the curbs along Broadway and Market and 3rd and Main yelling, "Welcome home!" This is Rosalind Russell sending all our love from the USA. See you later, fellas.
And this is Ken Carpenter closing up with a notation that Command Performance is arranged in cooperation with the Hollywood Victory Committee and produced for you men of the Armed Forces of the United Nations by the Special Service Division of the War Department of the United States of America.